I grew up thinking my family was just normal. Middle-class struggles, typical problems. But everything changed the moment I opened that one email. My entire world shattered. I discovered that my own family, the people I trusted most, had hidden millions from me. My inheritance. My future. Everything. And the reason. It's so twisted, you won't believe it. But before I tell you what I found, if you're ready to have your mind blown, smash that like button and subscribe, because this story gets darker with every revelation. Let's begin. My name is Marcus, and for 28 years, I believed a lie so big it defined my entire life. I was raised in a modest house in Portland, Oregon. My father, Richard, worked as an accountant. My mother, Catherine, was a teacher. On the surface, we were the picture of a stable, upper-middle-class family. Nothing flashy. Nothing suspicious. My parents always told me the same story. We work hard, we save, and we provide for you. That's the way life works, son. I believed them completely. I went to a good college, UC Berkeley, with my parents' help, but I took out student loans like everyone else. I worked part-time jobs throughout university. I graduated with around $40,000 in debt, which felt normal to me. After college, I got a job in software development, and I've been grinding ever since, paying off my loans slowly, watching my friends with wealthier families buy homes while I was still renting a small apartment. My relationship with my parents was good. We'd have dinner every Sunday. My mom would ask about my dating life. My dad would give me unsolicited advice about investments. My younger sister, Emma, and I were close, or so I thought. Everything seemed fine. Everything seemed right. But here's what I didn't know. My grandfather, my father's father, whom I barely remembered, had died when I was 7 years old. He left behind an estate. A massive estate. We're talking multi-million dollars. Real estate investments, stock portfolios, business interests. The kind of wealth that changes everything. And my family never told me a single word about it. I only found out by accident. I was 28 years old, sitting in my apartment on a random Tuesday evening, when I received an email notification. Nothing unusual, just a standard email from something called Hartwell & Associates legal firm. The subject line read, "Urgent. Trust account status update required." I almost deleted it. I thought it was spam. But something made me click. Call it intuition. Call it fate. Whatever it was, that single click changed everything. The email was addressed to me, Marcus Richard Thompson, and it was regarding my grandfather's trust. Apparently, there was a significant discrepancy in the trust account. The lawyer was reaching out because there was a deadline, and I needed to respond immediately. My heart started racing. I read the email again. And again. The numbers didn't make sense. There was mention of a trust fund valued at approximately $3.8 million. $3.8 million. And it was mine. According to the document, I should have received notification of this when I turned 25. I was 28 now. No one had told me anything. My hands were shaking as I scrolled down. The email contained a PDF attachment, a copy of my grandfather's will. As I read through it, I realized something even more shocking. My father had been appointed as the trustee of my inheritance, which meant he had full control of the money. My money. The email also contained a series of transactions. Money being withdrawn from the account. Large withdrawals. Thousands at a time. And the recipient, a company I'd never heard of called Thompson Ventures, LLC. I felt sick. I immediately called my father. "Dad, I just received an email from a law firm about Grandpa's estate. About a trust fund. Why? Why didn't anyone tell me about this?" There was a long silence on the other end. Then, my father's voice changed. It became cold. Distant. something I'd never heard from him before. "Marcus, that's complicated. We need to talk about this in person, not over the phone." But he never called back. Not that night. Not the next day. Instead, the next morning, I received a text from my mother. "Family dinner this Sunday. Your father wants to discuss some family matters." That's when I knew everything I thought I knew about my family was a lie. How would your family react if you discovered they'd hidden millions from you? And trust me, that's just the beginning. The real betrayal comes next. That Sunday dinner felt different. Cold. My parents had set the table formally. We usually ate casually in the kitchen, but this time everything was arranged like we were having a business meeting, not a family meal. My mother had made my favorite, roasted chicken, but I couldn't eat. My sister Emma arrived around 6 p.m., and I could see in her eyes that she already knew something. She wouldn't make eye contact with me. That's when I realized everyone knew except me. My father waited until we were all seated before he spoke. He set his fork down slowly, deliberately, like he was preparing for war. "Marcus, your mother and I need to talk to you about your grandfather's estate," he began. "The estate that you've been hiding from me for 3 years?" I said, my voice shaking with anger I didn't know I was capable of. My father's face hardened. "You don't understand how these things work, son. Your grandfather's will was complicated. There were conditions." "What conditions?" I demanded. My mother reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Don't," I said. Emma stared at her plate. She wasn't going to defend me. She was part of this conspiracy. My father took a deep breath. "Your grandfather left explicit instructions in his will. The trust was meant to teach you a lesson about hard work and responsibility. He didn't want to hand you millions on a silver platter. He wanted you to earn your place in life first." I stood up. "That's not his decision to make. That's my inheritance. My money. And you," I pointed at my father, "you were supposed to protect my interests, and instead you've been stealing from me." "I haven't been stealing anything," my father said coldly. "I've been managing the trust according to your grandfather's wishes." "Then what about Thompson Ventures, LLC?" I pulled out my phone and showed him the email. "What is this company? Because I'm pretty sure I don't own any ventures." My father's face went pale. "How did you?" he started. "The lawyer contacted me. Apparently, someone needs to sign off on the trust account, and since I'm turning 30 in 2 years, the law requires your trusteeship to be reviewed. They were trying to reach me because you weren't responding to their inquiries." My mother started crying. "Richard, I told you we should have told him. I told you this was wrong." "Shut up, Catherine," my father snapped at her. That's when I realized the full extent of the betrayal. This wasn't just about money. This was about my entire family conspiring against me. My father, my mother, my sister, all of them knew. "How much?" I asked quietly. "How much what?" my father replied. "How much did you take from MY Trust Fund for this venture of yours?" My father stood up. His face was red now, veins bulging in his neck. "You think you can come into this house and accuse me? I've given you everything, Marcus. Everything. And this is how you repay me. With suspicion and disrespect. You gave me nothing that was actually yours to give." I shouted back. "You stole my inheritance, and you're acting like you're the victim here." "That money was supposed to help our family business," my father said, his voice dripping with resentment. "Your grandfather was going to leave it to me anyway. He just put it in your name as a tax strategy. I was only borrowing it. I was going to pay it back." "Borrowing?" I laughed bitterly. "How much, Dad? How much have you borrowed?" My father wouldn't answer. Emma finally spoke up, her voice small and weak. It's about $2 million. The room went silent. $2 million. Half of my inheritance. Gone. My mother was sobbing now. My father looked like he might have a heart attack. And Emma, she just stared at the table like a coward. I grabbed my jacket and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" my mother called after me. "Away from all of you," I said. "And tomorrow morning, I'm calling the lawyers." I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my apartment, staring at my phone, rereading that email from Hartwell and Associates over and over. The lawyer's name was Susan Chen. I had her contact information right there. At 8 a.m. sharp, I called her office. "Hartwell and Associates, how can I help you?" a receptionist answered. "I need to speak with Susan Chen immediately. It's regarding the Thompson Trust account." 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Susan's office in downtown Portland. She was a woman in her late 50s, sharp-eyed and professional. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Marcus, I'm glad you called," she said, sliding a folder across her desk. "Your father has been avoiding my calls for months. I've been very concerned about the status of your trust." "My father told me the trust was meant to teach me a lesson about hard work," I said. Susan's expression changed. She looked almost angry. "That's not entirely accurate," she said carefully. "Your grandfather's will did contain certain conditions, yes. But those conditions were designed to protect you, not punish you. Let me explain what your grandfather actually intended." She opened the folder and showed me documents I'd never seen before. "Your grandfather was a brilliant businessman," Susan explained. "He built an empire through real estate and investments. When he passed away, he left explicit instructions about his estate. He wanted his children, including your father, to learn the value of money. So he stipulated that his direct heirs wouldn't receive the bulk of his estate until they demonstrated financial responsibility and didn't exploit the trust." "But he left money for me?" I asked. "Yes. Your grandfather was very specific about this. He left you $3.8 million in a separate trust, to be held until you turned 25. At that point, you were supposed to receive quarterly distributions, with full control at age 30. The money was yours, Marcus, not your father's to manage or borrow. He was only supposed to manage it until you came of age." My stomach turned. "And my father?" Susan's jaw tightened. "Your father received a separate inheritance, about $1.2 million, with the condition that he couldn't access it until he proved he could manage money responsibly. Your grandfather didn't trust him. Apparently for good reason." She pulled out more documents. "Over the past 3 years, your father has withdrawn approximately $2.1 million from your trust. He set up that company, Thompson Ventures, supposedly to invest the money. But when I audited the accounts, I found that the company barely exists. The money has been used for personal expenses, failed investments, and what appears to be fraud." "Fraud?" I whispered. "Marcus, your father has been committing trust fraud. He's been stealing from you, and technically, from your grandfather's estate. This is a serious crime. I've been trying to contact you for months because the statute of limitations on some of these transactions is running out. We need to act quickly if you want legal recourse." I felt the room spin. My own father. A criminal. Stealing from me. What are my options? I asked. Susan leaned back in her chair. "You have several. First, I can file a formal complaint with the probate court. That would force your father to account for every penny he's taken from the trust. Second, I can recommend that you file a civil lawsuit against him for breach of fiduciary duty. Third, and this is serious, I can recommend that you file a police report for theft and fraud." "Police report?" "Yes. Your father has committed crimes. The question is whether you want to pursue criminal charges or handle this civilly within the family. Both are legitimate options. I thought about my mother crying at the dinner table. I thought about Emma staring at her plate. I thought about my father's rage when I confronted him. How much money is actually still left in the trust? I asked. After the withdrawals and some legitimate expenses, approximately $1.7 million remains. If you act quickly, we can secure that account and prevent any further withdrawals. I looked at the documents in front of me. My grandfather's will, the trust documents, the transaction records showing my father's thefts. Do it, I said. File the complaint. Secure the account. Do everything you legally can to protect what's left. Susan nodded. This is going to be painful, Marcus. Your family will likely see this as a betrayal. They betrayed me first, I said quietly. I didn't hear from my family for 2 weeks. Then, on a Wednesday morning, my father showed up at my apartment. He was drunk. I could smell the whiskey on him before he even opened his mouth. His face was unshaven, his clothes wrinkled. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "You destroyed me," he said, his voice cracking. "You destroyed our entire family." I didn't let him inside. I stood in the doorway, blocking his path. "You destroyed our family the moment you stole from me," I said coldly. "I didn't steal," he shouted. "I borrowed. I was going to pay it back. The business was supposed to take off, and then I would have replenished the account. You ruined everything." "I didn't ruin anything. You did. I just stopped you from doing more damage." My father's hands were shaking. There were tears in his eyes, tears of rage, not remorse. "Do you know what's happened since you called those lawyers?" he said. "Your mother left me. She's staying at your aunt's place. The bank has frozen my accounts. The company is bankrupt. I'm facing criminal charges, Marcus. Criminal charges. Because of you." "Because of you," I corrected. "You made those choices. You stole that money. I'm just facing the consequences of your actions." "You ungrateful little bastard," he spat. "After everything I've done for you. You've done nothing for me that wasn't mine to begin with." I shouted. "Every sacrifice you made, every gift you gave me, it was all guilt money. Blood money. You knew what you were doing was wrong, and you did it anyway." My father's face crumpled. He looked broken. For a second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "I'm your father," he said, his voice small now. "How could you do this to me?" "You're the one who taught me about consequences," I said. "Remember. Work hard and you'll succeed. Cheat the system and you'll face the music." "Well, Dad, it's time to pay the price." He left without another word. I watched him stumble back to his car, and I felt nothing. No sympathy. No guilt. Just a cold, clear sense of justice. But the real shock came the next day. I received a call from my mother. She was crying, not angry tears, but genuine tears of grief. "Your father tried to take his own life last night," she said. My blood went cold. "What?" "He took sleeping pills. A lot of them. If his brother hadn't found him and called an ambulance." She didn't finish the sentence. "He was in the hospital now, in the psychiatric ward. On suicide watch." I felt guilt crash over me like a wave. Had I done this? Had I pushed my own father to this? My mother continued, "The doctors say he's unstable. He keeps talking about how he's a failure, how he's destroyed his life, how he has nothing left to live for. Marcus, I know what he did was wrong, but he's still your father. He still needs help." "He needs professional help," I said, my voice hollow. "Not my forgiveness. Marcus." "Mom, I can't do this right now. I need time. I hung up. For the first time since discovering the truth, I doubted myself. My father was in the psychiatric ward. My mother was devastated. My sister wouldn't return my calls. And I was sitting in my apartment, alone, wondering if seeking justice was worth destroying my family. But then I remembered the email. The thousands of dollars stolen. The years of lies. And I knew I had made the right choice. Even if it hurt. My father was discharged from the psychiatric hospital after 2 weeks. He entered a rehabilitation program, not just for his mental health, but for alcohol addiction too. Apparently, he'd been drinking heavily for months, ever since the trust audit began. I didn't visit him. I didn't call. I cut off all contact. But my mother wouldn't let me disappear. She called me constantly, begging me to meet with her. After weeks of resistance, I finally agreed to coffee. Just coffee. Nothing more. We met at a small cafe near my apartment. My mother looked like she'd aged 10 years. Her hair had more gray in it. Her eyes were hollow, exhausted. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly, stirring her coffee without drinking it. "What do you want, Mom?" I asked, not bothering with pleasantries. "I want to tell you the truth. The whole truth. Not what your father told you. Not what he told himself. The actual truth." I leaned back in my chair, waiting. "Your grandfather," she began, "was a difficult man. Very successful, but difficult. He was hard on your father. Growing up, your father was constantly trying to prove himself, and your grandfather never seemed satisfied. Nothing was ever good enough. That's his problem, not mine," I said. "Let me finish," my mother said gently. "When your grandfather died, your father inherited about $1.2 million. But there was a catch. Your grandfather's will stated that your father could only access the money if he demonstrated financial responsibility. Your father saw this as a final test, a final judgment from his father, even after death." "So he failed the test," I said. "Worse than that. He became obsessed with proving himself. He thought that if he could turn a small investment into something huge, if he could make the business succeed, he could finally earn your grandfather's approval. Even though your grandfather was dead." My mother took a sip of her coffee. "Your father was never going to repay your trust fund, Marcus. He couldn't. He'd already spent it. Every penny. And instead of admitting his failure, instead of coming to you and explaining what happened, he told himself a story. He told himself that the money was supposed to be his. That your grandfather's trust for you was unfair. That he was protecting you from an entitled upbringing." "He was lying to himself," I said. "Yes. And he dragged all of us into his lie. Emma knew because I told her. I thought she should understand what was happening. Your father thought she should keep it secret. That's part of what destroyed their relationship. Emma felt trapped between your father's demands for secrecy and her own conscience." "Where is Emma?" I asked. I hadn't heard from my sister in weeks. "She's struggling. She feels guilty for not telling you. She feels guilty for keeping the secret. She's in therapy now." I felt a pang of guilt. Emma was just a kid when all of this started. She didn't deserve to be caught in the middle. "There's something else," my mother said, reaching into her purse. She pulled out an envelope. "Your father wrote this. He asked me to give it to you. I want you to know that he wrote it while he was in the rehabilitation program, sober for the first time in months. He's not asking for your forgiveness. He knows he doesn't deserve it. But he wants you to know." She handed me the envelope. I didn't open it right then. I just held it. "Your father made terrible choices," my mother continued. "He hurt people he loved. He hurt you. But he's trying to get better. He's attending therapy. He's taking medication. He's trying to understand why he did what he did. That doesn't erase what he did, but it matters. Does it? I asked bitterly. I don't know, my mother admitted. I'm still angry at him too. But I'm also learning that people can be both deeply flawed and still worth saving. It's complicated, Marcus. Life is complicated. We finished our coffee in silence. Before she left, my mother hugged me. I let her, but I didn't hug back. That night, alone in my apartment, I finally opened my father's letter. The letter was handwritten, in my father's familiar scratchy handwriting. Marcus, I don't know where to start. I don't know if you'll even read this, but your mother convinced me to write it, so here goes. I'm a failure. There, I said it. It took me 58 years and a suicide attempt to finally admit it out loud, but that's what I am. A failure. You deserve an explanation, even though I know an explanation doesn't fix anything. So let me give you the truth, finally. When your grandfather died, I was 30 years old. I thought I was on the verge of something great. I had ideas, plans, dreams. But your grandfather's will felt like his final judgment on me, that I couldn't be trusted with money, that I needed to prove myself. Even in death, he was testing me. Instead of accepting that judgment, instead of learning from it, I decided to prove him wrong. I decided to take your trust, the one he set up for you, and turn it into something magnificent. I thought if I could make that money multiply, if I could create a successful business, I could finally show your grandfather that I was worth something. But I was also terrified. Terrified that I would fail. Terrified that you would find out. So I lied. I lied to you, to your mother, to everyone. I told myself the lies so many times that I started believing them. The truth is, I stole from my own son. I betrayed your trust. I destroyed our family because I was too weak and too proud to admit that I had failed. You had every right to do what you did. To pursue legal action. To cut me out of your life. I don't blame you. I wouldn't forgive me either. But I'm asking you to understand something. I'm trying to change. Every single day, I wake up and I have to face what I've done. And every single day, it breaks my heart. Not because I'm facing consequences, but because I hurt the people I love most. I hurt you. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know that what you did, facing the truth, demanding accountability, refusing to let me hide behind my lies, that was the most important thing that could have happened. You forced me to see myself as I truly am. And as painful as that is, it's the only way I can ever heal. Your mother told me that you haven't spent any of the recovered money. That you're still living the same way, working hard, paying your own way. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are. You're nothing like me. You're better than me. I'm proud of you. I know I have no right to be, but I am. Your father. I sat on my apartment floor for hours, holding that letter, reading it over and over. I cried. I raged. I felt every emotion at once, anger, sadness, confusion, and something unexpected, a tiny seed of hope that maybe, eventually, healing was possible. I didn't know what to do with my feelings. My father had hurt me. He had stolen from me. He had lied to me. But he was also clearly suffering, trying to change, trying to become better. The next day, I called Susan Chen, my lawyer. I want to know about my options for a civil settlement, I said. Something that requires my father to pay back the money he stole, but doesn't destroy him completely. Susan was quiet for a moment. That's very generous, Marcus. It's not generous, I said. It's just. I need to move forward. I need to stop being defined by this betrayal. We worked out an agreement. My father would repay the $2.1 million over the next 10 years, with interest. In exchange, I agreed not to press criminal charges. It wasn't perfect justice, but it was a path toward healing. A week later, I got a text from Emma, "Can we talk?" I agreed to meet her for lunch. She was nervous, apologetic, but also relieved. We cried together. We talked about the weight of secrets, the complicated nature of family, and the possibility of moving forward. My father texted me one message: "Thank you. I don't deserve it, but thank you." I didn't respond. But I didn't delete it either. That's when I realized something crucial. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing to live your life without carrying the weight of someone else's failures. It's about understanding that people can hurt us deeply and still be people worth loving, even if we have to love them from a distance. I had hidden millions. Not in a bank account, but in my chest. Hidden anger, hidden pain, hidden resentment. And once I stopped hiding it, once I faced the truth, I was finally free. My inheritance wasn't just money. It was the freedom to choose who I wanted to be. Someone bitter and vengeful, or someone capable of growth, forgiveness, and hope. I chose hope. Sometimes, the greatest inheritance we receive isn't money. It's the lesson that truth, no matter how painful, is always better than lies. My family was broken, but we survived. We're healing. Slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. If you're facing a similar situation, if someone you love has betrayed you, know this: you have the power to choose how you respond. You can choose justice. You can choose forgiveness. Or, like me, you can choose both. If this story touched your heart, leave a comment and tell me, what would you have done? And don't forget to subscribe to Buried Secrets for more stories about family, betrayal, and the power of choosing truth over comfort. Thank you for watching.